All right. Now I am trying with just the headphones. I have it on video. I don't see a video. Maybe I need to turn it on. Why won't you let me do video? Why is that not an option when I asked for it to be? Now we're going to play the song. Thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate you, and you're awesome. So awesome. So awesome, in fact, that I think these $13 headphones are way better than the $150 one. How about that? How about that? Hello, my loves. Welcome to a whole new season with a whole new title of the Danielle Mercurio podcast situation. We are launching in Mercury Retrograde because why the frick not? So I wanted to give you a little behind the scenes of what I've been going through in order to get this podcast back up and running. I've been having a lot of technical issues, and one of the biggest problems within taking the time to find a solution was that I wasn't really allowing myself the time to really sit and look at this and be like, okay, what is really happening? Why am I having so many issues with my mic? Why is it muting when I talk? Why is it jumbling the words? There's this other recording I have where literally it catches me saying retrograde and it just puts it in this loop, and I'm like, retrograde, retrograde, and I'm like, what is happening? Yet at the same time, this makes so much sense. But that's Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde is kind of the upside down world in a lot of ways, because it does govern our technology, our communication, our mind. So much of our everyday life is assisted by Mercury. It's one of our personal planets. It's close to Earth. And when it goes retrograde, things take a different dynamic, and it may feel wonky. It may feel upside down. It may feel like nothing's working out. So the invitation, the opportunity in that is to make more time to figure it out, to get to the things that have been slowing you down, that you've been saying, I don't have time for this. I'm so frustrated. I don't get it. Or on the flip side, to make more time away from the computer, away from your inbox. Mercury retrograde is all about doing things differently. And in that space of doing things differently, what is holding you back from even getting to that point? And that's really what this episode is going to be about. Not only are we going to unpack Mercury retrograde, what it means with the certain astrological dynamics, and then further, what you can uncover during this time so you come out more resilient, more knowing, more in a space of trust and groundedness, as opposed to how sometimes Mercury retrograde is painted as a time of chaos, doom, lots of sighing, oh, it must be a retrograde, oh, and it's like, you know what? Yeah, sure. If that's the attitude you want to have, you're going to have a great freaking time with this, as opposed to, oh, hey, this transit is happening, so what am I going to do with it? Just like if you were caught in the middle of the storm, you'd be like, I'm caught in the middle of the storm, I'm getting all wet. Would you be like, oh, it's freaking storming right now and I'm getting all wet, maybe I should find shelter. Maybe I should dance in the rain. Maybe I should appreciate what this is doing to my environment, right? So it's all about perspective. So much so. I just had a thought. Now I'm writing it down. Okay. Thought written down. We'll share momentarily. So this podcast has gone through many metamorphoses, if you will. It started out as Gypsy After Hours, which I will be honest with you, I loved. I loved the name. I was re-listening to the old theme song, and I was like, wow, Danielle, like you were so in it. It was so good. Why didn't, it move along further than it could have, and there were a few reasons for that. The obvious reason, gypsy, I mean, cultural appropriation, it is a Romanian slur. I do not want to do anything that would be slander towards someone else. And further, when I look at certain aspects of my life, certain projects, things that I've done, now I'm a manifesting generator, so we like to do a lot of things. I'm a triple Leo, so I want to be in the spotlight constantly. Yet, there was still this anchor from my past that was holding me down saying, yeah, but it's probably not going to work out. And everything that I do, when I look back at that I haven't followed through on, or I haven't really seen it come to fruition that I would want, was likely because, or knowingly because, there was still this running story, this template that I was operating on of, ooh, you probably don't need to do that, or ooh, it's probably not going to work out, or ooh, that's probably not a priority. So then, of course, if that's the running template, even if I have all of the dreams, the aspirations, the self-esteem, the confidence, it doesn't matter, because what's going to happen is that those higher aspirations, that confidence, that self-esteem, that's beautiful, but then it's going to blend with the lower template of it's not going to work out. It lets things go forward, but it's like for every 2 steps I take forward, I'm also taking 1 back, right? For every time I'm like coming out the gates in the most high vibe form, I'm going to be taken down a few notches. And that can get really exhausting and confusing. And that's something that I'm just so completely over. And it's something that I want you to explore as well during this Mercury retrograde. Now, after Gypsy After Hours, I was so confused. I was so lost. What do I call it now? So I came up with Curiously Confident, which is true. I'm a very curious cat. And I'm very confident. So Curiously Confident came to be, but it still wasn't enough. And why it wasn't enough was because I got so, what do I want to say? I felt so like afraid of doing something wrong. I felt like I was in trouble for using the word gypsy, right? As opposed to saying, yes, I am learning. I am doing the work. I am showing up to make sure that I don't just bypass, that I just don't take things, that I don't just, use something without the meaning, as opposed to just saying like, I recognize why this isn't okay. And I recognize where I'm learning. I recognize and apologize. And I'm moving forward. And what I did, I did that. And I also went back to that old template of Danielle, you're wrong. Danielle, you failed. Danielle, enough of this. You tried. Clearly it's not working. Danielle, you're so stuck in your white privilege. You're such a spiritual bypasser. So I wanted nothing to do with spirituality. And Curiously Confident became the way of being like, well, I won't get in trouble if I use Curiously Confident, right? There's nothing, that I can get in trouble for, right? Unless I guess I'm cultural appropriating cats, right? And they're like, you can't use that. We're the curious ones. But that wasn't me, right? It wasn't me recognizing my environment, recognizing what isn't okay, and honoring that, because I really do, deep down, I don't want to hurt or offend anybody. And I also look at the big picture. I very much believe in the philosophy of the Aquarian age. And when I go to the ethics of that, I realize where that was wrong. But to wrong myself constantly was victim mentality, was selfishness, to be honest, right? I was being selfish in the way I was acting without realizing it. And so I went to this Curiously Confident place, which was fun and cute and sassy, yet still not authentically in the core of who I am. So then I was like, well, if I want to be in the core of who I am, then I'm just going to be Danielle Mercurio, because that's who I am. I am Danielle Mercurio. So then burst the Danielle Mercurio show. Amazing. And I still think the Danielle Mercurio show is going to be the arch, or the overall thing that lands at the end of the day. Yet I am feeling very called right now, and maybe this just becomes a series, to go back to the spiritual closet, to go back to, what I know in this arena. And I am an expert in it. I have been doing the work for over a decade, and I am a channel, and I am an intuitive, and I have a lot to offer in the spiritual space. And I also am grounded about it. I'm also here to call you out on your spiritual bullshit, okay? Or what you believe to be spiritual, which is bullshit, right? And that's where the title of My So-Called Spiritual Life came to be, because that's really what this is. I mean, even when we think about spirituality, what is it really? To define spirituality is to just be in spirit. And to be in spirit is to be one with yourself as you actualize the soul that is representing your path here, the soul that chose, hey, let's do this human thing on this planet called Earth. And you're like, all right, cool, let's do it. And as we do it, we awaken. As we do it, we remember things. As we do it, we gain more traction and clues, right? And so we call that my so-called spiritual life. We don't know if it's right or not. We don't know if it's wrong or not. We just know that when we get to that space of evoking what feels true, we roll with that. But to get to that space of truth, we really have to keep coming back to our knowing as opposed to our thinking. Because so often our thinking comes from that template I was talking about, right? So often when we are trying to manifest and it doesn't work, we're coming from that space of thinking, I think this is what I need. I think this is what I should do. I think this is what I'm supposed to do with my life. And all that thinking is coming from all the templates that are programmed by society, by our parents, by the people in our life growing up, by the culture that we embody ourselves with. So all of these thoughts are being absorbed into our templates. And so often when we're trying to manifest, we're manifesting from that template, right? And we're manifesting from that template because we have an expectation that if we manifest from that template, not only will we receive validation and love and success, we'll be able to kind of get everybody off our back. We'll be able to show everyone, look, I'm doing it. I'm existing in the world. I'm following your program. But when we look at our soul, and when we look at the deep knowing, there's a different program likely in place. There's a different template. And when we can access that template, there isn't this need for validation. There isn't this fear-based drive within us. There isn't this franticness. Okay. When we are in our soul, think about those moments where you've maybe meditated or been on a walk or been with a loved one or your children. And all you can feel is this deep knowing of love, of calm, of contentment. Your mind is free from any expectations, any indications of how you're supposed to be, the outside world. That is your soul knowing. That is your place of inner authority. And that is where you manifest from. When you try to manifest from that lower template, it gets wonky, right? And so often what happens a lot of the times, and again, this is all part of Mercury Retrograde, which I'll get to, but a lot of the times we do get that good idea and we're in our soul. This is what happens to me. I find, even, and I'm going to do a different episode on this, but when I made the decision on 11/11 to leave my home in Philadelphia and go on the road, it was from my highest truth. I mean, I was accessing my soul. I was listening to my inner authority, and I knew that I had to leave. I knew I wasn't running away. Yet, as I started to implement that idea into my world, I started to also bring up that old template where there was chaos in my life, that old template where I wasn't able to follow through, that old template where I wasn't really allowed to do the things I wanted to do. That was also emerging. Okay. So what was happening was I had the soul knowing of, yes, go on the road, do this. And then I had the lower templates running of, actually you can't. And actually it's not really going to work out. And actually you can't do this. So I was running off of those two templates, which is exhausting. I'd rather just run off of one, right? I'd rather just be in the ignorant lower template trying to do the best I can, or in the higher knowing. But it's too late to go back to that ignorant template, and I don't want to, right? It's like the Matrix. What pill do you want to take? Was it red or blue? I recognize no, I want to be in the higher template. I want to be in the soul actualization. I want to be in my knowing, and I want to manifest and continue to create and expand from that place. But that means I'm going to have to do some work. That means that I'm going to have to, destroy and unprogram and uncode these old stories, these old templates. And I feel like the title, the new set of this podcast, My So-Called Spiritual Life, is just that, right? It's identifying still as a human,
honoring your life path while also honoring this higher path, this truth inside of you, this idea of what spirituality could be. I mean, we don't really know. We have an idea of it. We go to, places like, metaphysical stores, and we go to healers, and we, go to yoga, and we go to meditation. Is that spiritual? I don't know. Maybe, maybe not, right? We could pass on and realize all of this was bogus. But what I do know to be true, and we take away the material, we take away the places, we take away even the people that can help us. We just have this soul, and we just have permission and allowance to constantly access the knowing that lives inside of it and the direction that it wants us to take. But in order to get there, we've got to filter. I run a membership called the Cosmic Channel, and we have live meetups, and the live meetups are called the Lioness Lounge. And once a month, I'll do like readings for the group so people can ask questions, and I'll kind of bring in my own guidance and, channeling to help. And there was this one individual that said, it feels like my soul is going in all of these different directions, and I don't know what to do. And I thought that was such a brilliant question. Because here's the thing, our soul doesn't go in a bunch of different directions. Our soul only goes in one direction. All those other directions that you're feeling are your ego, are your inner child thoughts, are your wounded self, are your outside influences, are your fears. Okay? The soul only knows one direction. And the more that we get intimate with that soul inside of us, which I'll do in another episode, right? How to really get into the soul. We only have one direction. The soul isn't going to say, okay, I want you to go this way and this way and that way and that way, and then go over here and then go back that way. The soul would not do that. But the ego would. Outside influences would. Right? Think about when you have a really great idea and then you start telling people. It starts to take new form. It starts to take different directions. It starts to go in another way. And it doesn't mean that we have to keep everything to ourselves, but use some discernment and look at that part of you that's saying, why do I need to share this with everybody so fast? Why do I need to give it away as soon as I get it? Okay. And so when this idea of my soul's going in a lot of directions, your soul might have a lot of ideas. And when you do tap into, your soul, you are going to download a lot of stuff that you're going to be able to do with your life. And that can be overwhelming. But the more that you stay in alignment with the soul, with the inner knowing, the more it will actualize and it will make sense to you. Okay. And the more it will come together, the more you can see all these things and you can say, I don't even know how this connects. And one day you're like, oh, I see all this connects. That's so cool. But in the meantime, what we really want to look at is, why does it feel like I have this one direction? I know what I need to do. And yet I'm convincing myself to focus on all these other ideas or options or things. Where does that come from? Which leads us into Mercury retrograde. Okay, so Mercury retrograde is happening now. Where's my little book? Oh, I think it's over in the other room. I'm pretty sure Mercury retrograde is happening. I should know this. It's so funny, but that's part of this. May 29th. Okay. So I know it started on May 29th at 6:34 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and it ends on either June 21st or June 22nd. I just don't know the time it goes direct, but we want to, look at that time frame. And usually, or always, a Mercury retrograde is 3 weeks. What I love about Mercury, it's governed by Virgo and Gemini. Okay, so Virgo and Gemini, or should I say Mercury governs Virgo and Gemini, which is very interesting because you wouldn't really pair Gemini and Virgo together, right? But that's what I love about Mercury, because it does have the qualities of Gemini, which is curious and playful and kind of always looking for the next adventure, always looking to evolve, with Virgo, which is calculated, specific, has a plan, manages things. And I think, like, great. If Mercury is our planet of technology and communication, I would love for it to be besties with Gemini and Virgo. And this is just overall, just kind of when we're looking at the breakdown of astrology. Okay. So the fact that Mercury always goes retrograde for 3 weeks is the Virgo side of things, right? The fact that, things get a little bit wonky and chaotic is the Gemini side of things, okay? And that's just kind of how it goes. So we have from May, if you're listening in real time, May 29th, 2021 until June 21st, 22nd, right around the summer solstice. We're going to be looking at it winding down. It'll also be winding down eclipse season, okay? The first eclipse of the season, there's always some shadow period, but essentially it started on May 26th. We're going to have another one on June 10th, and then the shadow period of that will wrap around summer solstice, June 20th, okay? And then Mercury will go direct, and then we're going to see a little bit of a break in the cosmic sphere, but likely you should be seeing a break within yourself, right? So we're currently in Gemini season. This year, Mercury will be touring all the air signs. So the first Mercury retrograde we had was in Aquarius, okay? This one is in Gemini. The one in the fall will be during Libra season, okay? Likes to pick. I feel like next year it's touring the earth signs, okay? So it'll be a little bit of Capricorn, a little bit of Taurus, a little bit of Virgo. Cool. It gets to be with its best friends 2 years in a row, right? It gets to be with Gemini this year. Next year it'll be reunited with Virgo. Perfect. We love it. So it happening in Gemini season during its track with Mercury also joining Gemini. The way we like to look at it is the 12 signs, they're a game board, okay? They're just a game board underneath the solar system. And every day the sun, the moon, and the planets all move around this game board in different paces, different time frames. And right now on the game board, Gemini is getting a lot of activity, okay? The sun is in Gemini on the game board. Venus is in Gemini. The North Node is in Gemini, and Mercury. Now, Mercury retrograde means, Mercury was in Gemini for a little bit, and now it's like, you know what? It's retrograde time to go backwards. So now it's going backwards while the other planets are going forwards. The sun and Venus are moving forward on Gemini. Mercury is going the other way. Okay. So whenever a Mercury retrograde is happening, it takes a reversal, okay? I like to think of it as, it's the same energy as when you're going on vacation, right? There's a lot of different moving parts that aren't in your normal life, right? Like when you're going on vacation, there's things that you're doing that are different. You're packing, you're wrapping up emails, you're getting ready to take time off. You're doing things that are different. You're not in your home environment anymore. Maybe, you're doing different things. You're exploring, you're relaxing, right? Like there's all these things that you're doing that are different. Same for when Mercury goes retrogrades. Mercury's kind of chance to have a little time off, right? It's like everyone else is opening back up into the world. I need to too. I need to go to Tahiti. All right. So while Mercury's over in Tahiti, we're kind of left with like, what do we do? Everything feels different. Embrace that, right? And where is it going to feel different? Where is the spotlight going to really be honed in? Well, when we look at it being in Gemini, we look at the phases of the signs. So I believe that every sign represents the life phase that we go through as humans. So Aries represents birth, right? Infancy. Taurus represents toddler, learning how to associate with your environment, learning how to ask for what it is that you need. What do you really want, right? And then we move into Gemini, and Gemini is kind of like that age 7 to preteen. Okay, where you're like, okay, I can speak up for myself. I'm learning, I'm meeting people. I'm, kind of starting to get a sense of maybe what I could do one day, right? There's all these kind of things going on. But if we look at that hub of age like 7 to 11, we're looking at inner child here, my friends. Okay, so if we're looking at inner child right now, there's likely going to be some things that come up to represent that. And a lot of times we look at inner child like, oh, like I know I just need to go back and like be nice to my younger self. Yes. Absolutely, you should, right? I love looking at little Danielle. She's such a freaking rock star. She had amazing style, by the way. It's so much so. So when I was little, I loved clothes. Okay. I still do. I changed my outfit to record this freaking podcast because I was like, what I'm wearing isn't the vibe. So I'm wearing this cute little Flagstaff crop top that I got. And then Courtney or whatever her name is, the Kardashian, Kim, she has those Skims lines. I have these like really cute little ribbed boxer briefs on and I feel fabulous. And I got my leopard slippers on. Anyway, little Danielle also enjoyed clothes. She enjoys clothes so much And she wanted to have as many outfits as possible, that when she was done wearing an outfit, instead of putting it in the hamper or the laundry, like most people do, she would put it in the trash because she was done with that outfit and she was ready to go get her next one at the store. That's my way of getting dressed, and I freaking am here for it, because I still kind of do the same thing. I get bored with clothes very easily. I'm like, well, I already wore this. I already let this outfit, this piece represent me. Now I want to be represented in this way. Now I want to express myself in that way, right? And right there are some clues around little Danielle. Danielle likes to express herself. Danielle loved things that were colorful. Danielle liked variety, okay? Look at that, right? Think about your little self, something that maybe stands out, and kind of look to some clues around who you were at that time based on that storyline. But then I also look at little Danielle, and I look at little Danielle who wanted to be an actress, who wanted to be a writer, who wanted to go to theater and didn't, she loved swimming, but she didn't like swimming during the winter. She loved summer swimming, but winter swimming, that wasn't really fun. She wanted to go be in a play. She wanted to, do other things. But, she was told, no, you can't do that. You need to go to swimming because swimming is healthy. It's better for your body, keeps you in shape. Your siblings do it. So I can take everybody to practice at once. If you do this, then we got to go over here and we got to do that. And I understand that. I can understand that from a logistical place. I can understand that as, having being in a household where my mom was raising 4 children while my dad traveled all the time. Okay, I understand in theory it made more sense. It was more practical to just bring everybody to swimming. And from a space of body image and health, it made more sense to do it as well, right? But I internalize that as like you aren't allowed to do that. You aren't given a chance to perform, to act. And I didn't understand. I was very confused because I felt it from a soul level. I remember watching My Girl. Anyone freaking loved My Girl. What a twisted situation for children to watch. But like we did, right? And I was here for it. And I wanted to be like Anna Klumsky. I wanted to act. I remember her getting interviewed on E! And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, that's what I want to do. And I knew I wanted to do it, not because anybody told me, Danielle, you should be an actress. Danielle, you should do this. Danielle, you should be an author, right? Like I just knew it in my core. I knew that. I loved watching something on TV and going in my room and going in the mirror and practicing it and playing it out and writing my own plays and my own lines. But when I was told, you're not allowed to do this, you don't get a chance to try this, it was so confusing for me because on a soul level, that's where I was trying to express myself. I was expressing myself saying like, wait, I don't understand. Like I said I wanted to do this because I know I'm supposed to do this and I'm being told no. So right there, a template was created. A template of Danielle, you may feel like there are things you're supposed to do. However, what the outside world dictates is more of a priority. And you have to go along with that. And so, I kept going along with that. But the more that I went along with that, the more I was shut down, the more I felt inward, the more I felt depressed, right? And then that bled into my teens. That's when I started binge eating, right? Because there was this idea of you are restricted from the life you want. So the only way to get the life you want is to find ways to escape. And instead of thinking, well, I'm just going to escape and run away to acting school, I'm going to escape with this cookie. I'm going to escape by, riding my bike to the 7-Eleven and, spending all my money on food and then going into the woods and eating it. Those were my new ways of coping with the life that I wanted but didn't have access to. Okay. There were other things woven into my template as well, right? Not feeling really excited about life means that you're probably not going to be participating in the life that was given to you in a way that is on point. I wasn't the A+ student. Of course I wasn't. I wasn't excited about school. It had nothing to do with my skill level. Yes, I am neurodivergent, and yes, I have ADD, and yes, there are certain aspects. I'm also gifted, right? Like I have all those labels, which we're not going to get into today. So I could be capable, but I also couldn't be capable, right? And so when you have all of that going on, it creates a lot of chaos. So chaos was woven into my template. Okay. So I say all this to say, like, where in your life, looking back, are there stories and dynamics that got woven into your template that have made you do certain things in your adult life, right? I attribute my template to my addictions, okay? Binging, and then that, led to sex, that led to alcohol, that led to shopping, that led, compulsive behavior, okay? It also led to never feeling grounded in my body, which then also meant never feeling grounded in my home. Okay. I'm telling you, as an adult, most places I've lived, there has been some kind of chaos, some kind of noise, some kind of extremity. My last home in Philadelphia, I think I talked about this on a podcast. My neighbor who was super inappropriate, noise outside all the freaking time. And like, yes, I live in a city. I understand you're going to see your neighbor, you're going to hear street noise, but like not in the ways that I was dealing with it. Because in my template, I was meant to be distracted. There was meant to be unpleasant noise. There was meant to be disruption. Because deep down, I'm not meant to follow through with the life I'm supposed to have. So of course, when I sit down and say, you know what, I am going to record a meditation. I am going to get back to the podcast. Street drilling, cue it, right? It's like this like orchestra from above that's literally cueing all the distractions, all the reasons why I can't. And that was manifestation. Okay. We know when I was talking about manifesting from your template, that was me manifesting from my template. When I would, want to feel safe and comfortable in my home and there's a man, naked across the street jerking off. Okay. That's coming from the manifestation of my template. When, my home prior to that, there was a guy above me that worked really weird hours and had the noisiest bed in the world. And all I would hear would be him on his bed when I'm trying to work from home during the day. Okay. That's a manifestation from the template of chaos. Okay. So there's I can look at it in my relationships, which we're not going to go there today, but I share this because again, I want you to start looking at patterns. I want you to start looking at what you're manifesting in your life again and again and again from a place of stuff that went wrong when you were younger and start to reprogram it to a place where you can start to feel calm about who you are, what you desire, and where you're going. Gemini, this Mercury retrograde, gives us all of this permission. You're going to see it. And likely other people you follow are going to start bringing this stuff up too, because it's in the air, so to speak. It's in the cosmic air, in the atmosphere. So if Gemini is that 7 to 11 space, right? Gemini is curious. I call them my Peter Pan, my Alice in Wonderland. Okay. They are anthropologists. Yes, they are known as the twins, but Stephanie Azaria of the Cosmic Path, she likes to refer to Gemini as the diamond. When you break down Gemini, you get gem. When you look at a gem, you look at a diamond. When you look at a diamond, you say, hey, this is multifaceted. There's so many aspects. There are so many dynamics. Sometimes Gemini gets a really bad rap, especially my Gemini suns and my Gemini moons, to be honest. Gemini moon, sometimes they're really hard on themselves. You just have to realize there's a lot of layers. There's a lot of aspects. And what they're looking for is your compassion, your understanding. And so whether you have Gemini in your chart or not, where in your life could you use a little compassion, a little understanding? Where could you start looking at different dynamics and aspects? Where can you stop saying like, my soul is going in so many directions right now, and just realize, no, my soul has one direction. My trauma, my chaos, my egoic nature has many directions. And that's what I want to release in this season. And the eclipses are only going to help with that. The fact that we're having, lunar eclipse and a solar eclipse during these times is, eclipses cut out the baggage. Sometimes they'll pull the rug from underneath you to really see like, oh my God, can you just see the underbelly of what you've been operating on? Can you just look at what shadows are still lingering and creeping around you? And are you ready and willing to go there and face it? I had to be ready and willing to finally say enough is enough. It's part of why my trip has been so wonky up until this point because I was still, trying to make the old template somehow fixable as opposed to destroying it and going back in time and saying, this is going to be trippy and I'm just going to say it. Okay. There was a story around what I was telling you about the swimming and the acting and whatnot. And I went back to a place where I was 9 years old. Okay. I'm 37 now. When I was 9 years old, my mother was 37. Okay. So 37-year-old Danielle had to have a talk with 37-year-old mom and let her know the new way things were going to be going forward, how 9-year-old Danielle was going to be treated, how Danielle was going to be given a chance, what her needs were, that she understood that, yes, busy mom, unavailable husband, but at the same time, there was a way to make this work. And it was going to have to work because this was part of Danielle's soul expression. And if she doesn't have this part of her expressed, it's going to be a lot more work for you in the long run. There's going to be a lot more therapy. There's going to be a lot more baggage. There's going to be a lot more chaos. There's going to be addiction. Okay. There's going to be body dysmorphia. There's going to be a lack of knowing who she is. She is going to feel lost in the world if we don't take care of this. So I literally went back and I was like, I'm reprogramming this. I'm absolving and uncoding this old template of Danielle doesn't get a chance. She can't express herself, and changing it in this retrograde period to say, yes, she does. Danielle does get to have her soul expressed. Danielle does get to have her needs met. Danielle does feel heard. She doesn't get all the attention, but there's a way. There's a way to make it work because we know deep down in the long run, not only is it going to serve her and fulfill her highest truth and potential, but it's going to be better for everyone. It really is. And we have to trust that. We have to trust that when we make a change in our life, it might seem like we are hurting someone else, disappointing others. Okay. That comes from old expectations and old guilt that was put into your templates. But you have to realize in the long run, if you make those changes, yes, you might hurt or disappoint or confuse someone, but it will recalibrate where it will all make sense and everyone will be on the same page again in one way or another. Everyone will shift in their own ways. And we have to remember that everybody else is going through their own journey too. People that you're worried about disappointing, people that you're worried about letting down, their life isn't perfect. They got to go through their own shit and shifts too. And we want to remember that. Okay. So we want to use this time for those things. I mean, another example, I'm staying right now in Zion. It's a national park. It's Memorial Day weekend here. So clearly there are a lot of people traveling and visiting. I love it here, by the way. I'll talk about that more another day. But there's a lot of families. And so clearly I'm looking at the dynamics. I'm looking at people. And I was actually meditating outside this morning. And I heard, and one of the things that I'm working on with my meditation is, not looking at the distractions as I don't get my way. Because when you are still living off a chaotic template and you're wakening up to your spiritual path, you think that everything's just going to be quiet all of a sudden. You think everything's going to be peaceful and magical. That's not the truth, right? When you wake up, you're waking up to a life of layer after layer after layer of evolution, of opening up, of actualizing more truth, of connecting dots, right? There are times where I've got to this conclusion or this understanding, for the last decade, but never did I get it to this point until now because of the last 10 years of work, right? So anyway, that being said, I'm learning, I'm playing a little bit more with outside distractions and still being at peace. So I was meditating this morning and I was working with the energy of the mountains and kind of doing this magnet thing. And I hear these siblings, or they seem like I couldn't see them because there's a fence, shouting at each other. Like, rah, 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 rah. I don't even remember what they were saying. And I was like, huh, interesting. And I was like, well, that's not my chaos. And I went back to myself. But I was like, you know what? No, that is my chaos. There's a story there. Those individuals came through to tell me something. What are they trying to tell me? I was like, oh, I know what they're trying to tell me. Growing up, and maybe this was the same for you, whenever we went on a vacation, like a place like a national park, whenever we went out to eat, whenever we did something different, okay, again, we want to look at things in this retrograde lens. There was an expectation almost that you had to be good, that you had to be grateful. Okay. And I'm not saying that, you shouldn't be good or grateful on a vacation or in a nice restaurant, but there was that expectation. There was an expectation of your parents or your family or even, in current boyfriend, partnership, any kind of dynamic, that I'm taking you on vacation. Therefore, you need to be good. Therefore, you need to be grateful. I'm taking you to this nice restaurant for dinner. You need to be good. I'm giving you this present. You need to be grateful, right? And there's this expectation because someone's giving you something that all of a sudden you're not going to fight with your siblings anymore. You're not going to fail your tests anymore. You're not, for me, I got rewarded by losing weight. Like you're all of a sudden going to, know how to lose weight, right? There's all these expectations because there was a change in environment. And it's like, no, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way just because you're going out to a nice restaurant that all of a sudden you're not, if you used to have temper tantrums, you're not going to have a temper tantrum there. It doesn't matter. Because if you're wired to have temper tantrums, if you're wired to bicker with your sibling, if you're wired to not study, okay, it's not going to change because someone is changing your environment. What has to change is where that's coming from. Why are you fighting with your sibling? Why are you having a temper tantrum? Why are you failing your test? That's what needs to be absolved. But I think, in our culture and the hope was that, well, by taking you somewhere nice, by giving you something, that should be the change. And I want you to look at where in your adult life you believe that, right? Because we still do. Oh, well, when I lose these 15 pounds, then my world will be better. When I get that job, then everything will be easier. When I find that mate, everything will be great, because that's what we were told growing up very often, right? If you were given something, be effing grateful. And here's the thing, you absolutely should be grateful, right? Like we want to be grateful. We want to be great. I am grateful for the home and the environment that I was given from the space of, I did have my needs met growing up from a space of my human existence, if you will. Yet I didn't have my emotional needs met. And I didn't have my needs met when it came to my soul expressing itself. So I am grateful. I'm grateful for all of it, right? Because I also know that I was here to learn. I wasn't here to just come out into the world and express my soul and everything's grand. I can't tell you one human that has literally done it exactly right and has been soul aligned from the first breath they took. Okay, that's not the point. So I don't point the finger at anybody. I'm just sharing examples. And a lot of times these examples, these operating systems, were just ones that were inherited from their parents and their parents and so on. But, as we enter deeper into the Aquarian age, as we enter, kind of back into, understanding what life looks like after the year of a pandemic, we have to recognize that it ends now. Like those storylines, those templates, the way that we talk to each other, it ends now. And it starts by you doing this inner exploration. It starts by you leaning on support, going to a therapist, going to a coach, going to a healer that can really hold space for you and isn't looking to just give you the nice experience, that isn't giving you the look like, let's go on this retreat and sing Kumbaya. Because you're going to go on that retreat, you're going to say Kumbaya and, oh, I'm so grateful, that was so nice. And then you're going to go back to your environment, and next thing you know, you're fighting with your partner again. You're, sabotaging, your weight with food, right? Like, and you're like, but wait, I went on this nice Kumbaya retreat. I don't understand. Because the nice Kumbaya retreat was the nice vacation you took growing up, that your parents thought, well, this will keep them quiet. This will keep them happy, and it's all good intended. That's the thing. We don't want to beat ourselves up about any of this. This is not a reason to feel guilty. This is not a reason to feel like you did something wrong. This is a reason to feel like you have awareness. And from that space of awareness, you understand that you can't keep living multiple lives at once. A lot of times we feel frantic. A lot of times we feel like our soul is going in all these different directions because we are literally operating as, 4-year-old self, 7-year-old self, 9-year-old self, 13-year-old self, 18-year-old self, 21-year-old self, 25-year-old self, and so on and so forth. All these little events that happened are still operating in our subconscious, and we literally have a crowd of people around us that is us, and we don't even recognize it. And so with Gemini, with all of the layers that it brings and aspects, I want you to start looking at all of the different ways you've shown up in your life and what ones are ready to be complete, be done. There's a reason why we don't take the past with us. Okay. There's a reason why we look back and say, wow, that was great. And it's over. It's done. It's complete. It's ended. And now we start again. This whole life is about ending. Okay. We are meant to have multiple chapters. We are meant to have multiple lives within this life, but we can't keep them with us. We can't hoard all the versions of ourselves in order to really actualize how we're meant to show up and who we're here to really be. Okay. We were born with the knowing that this would end. So within that, there will be multiple endings. Okay. It's almost like we're practicing. Every, phase of life is kind of us practicing this idea of life and death so that when the ending does come, we don't be like, oh my God, it's ending. I had no idea. Or wow, there's so much I wanted to do. There's so much I wanted to let go of. There's so much I wanted to finish and I didn't because we didn't honor this idea of life and death. And this is a really good thing for us to look at over these next few weeks before we hit summer. What do you want summer to be? Do you want summer to be like carefree and fun and dynamic? And, we have all these beautiful, luscious, long days. Don't you want to feel a sense of peace, a sense of contentment, a sense of joy? Wouldn't you love to prepare your summer for that? And I'm not saying that all the work is going to be done within these next 3 weeks, but by starting to unpack this, by starting to look at our life from a place of knowing versus a place of thinking, right? Knowing comes from our soul. Thinking comes from our old templates. It's that simple. Taking more time, during a retrograde for yourself, for your loved ones, for things that are important. Okay. Spending less time on your phone. The reason why our computer shuts down, our car breaks down, things happen is because we're still going too fast. We're still on operating systems that are frantic and chaotic. So Mercury Retrograde is saying, hey, this is an area where we need you to slow down. So why don't you be proactive and get ahead on not spending so much time on your computer, not scrolling so much on your phone, not, saying yes when you mean no. I don't want to is the mantra of Mercury retrograde. I don't want to. I don't want to. I don't have to. No. These are all beautiful mission statements that encompass this Mercury retrograde, especially with the eclipses. All right. And you will be tested. You will be triggered. That's part of it. That's part of it because you need examples to help yourself stop. Like, yes, I can say like, okay, I recognize 9-year-old Danielle, the one who loved my girl and was ready to be an actress too. And I give her love and I'm giving her her new chance. And I talk to mom and we're good. Guess what? Mom's probably going to call and she's probably going to say something that comes from that old version. And I have a choice in that moment. Do I take the red pill or the blue pill? Do I take the one that continues to feed our old story together? Or do I take the one that empowers me, that allows me to be expressed? That's why tests happen. The tests happen to help continue to reprogram where you want to go. It's not to God, universe, God could care less about testing you from the space of like, we just want to make sure, or, it's going to be bad, like, stop it. Like, nobody's trying to like fuck it up for you. There's a belief that you might fuck it up. So it's empowering yourself to realize, no, I don't have to. And that's why it happens. It's just look at a test as a continuance of reprogramming the new storyline. When you say like, I want true love in my life, and you leave that person that just really felt misaligned, you can see how that person is a great fit for the old version of you. But when you look at the new version of you, this person's not a great fit, right? So you break up with them. And then a few weeks later, they show up and you're like, ooh, I'm a little lonely. I'm a little horny. Ooh, maybe I'll entertain it. And it's like, wait, by entertaining them, how does that help the new storyline? And that's what it comes down to. And if you say no to them, that only boosts the new storyline. It only proves that the new storyline is what is meant to be in existence. So we want to look at tests kind of from that way. So you will be tested during this retrograde. That's why when people say, oh, your exes might come back, they do so more in the Venus retrograde, to be honest. I think, there's more likelihood of exes to come back during Mercury retrograde because the focus is on technology. And of course, we use our phones, texting, we can stalk them online, all that stuff. So maybe they can come up during our Mercury retrograde. And again, it's not to say that someone can't come back into your life, but you want to ask yourself, is the way that they're coming back also showing that they've done something to reprogram their life to match my new programming? And if their new programming matches your new programming, boom, it can happen. But if they're still in that old programming and you're in the new, you're going to be doing like what I've been doing, where I've been like, I see my dreams, I see my truth, I know what I'm here to do. Yet there's this old story that I'm still carrying around, and I'm trying to please both. I'm trying to make both work because I think that that's really what's going to get me love, success, fulfillment, when it's not. I can't continue to try to find love, success, fulfillment from the old storyline of I can't have what I want. It's just not worth it to me. I'm not here for it. I want to absolve that. I want to reprogram it. I want to come from a space of I've always had access to love, joy, and fulfillment. And I constantly expand and open up into a life that allows for that. I take authority of recognizing that what I want has always been mine. Always. And I didn't know enough then. When we're younger, we're more vulnerable. We're more dependent. And that's okay. But now, in my current state, being an adult, I have authority over who infiltrates the system. And I get to say no. I get to say yes to myself. I get to say this time it's working out. This time it's coming together. This time I dwell in homes and environments that feel safe and supportive and encouraging, that don't continuously harvest distractions to feed that old, tired, addicted storyline. So that's my spiel on my so-called spiritual life as a Mercury Retro-BABE. And if you identify as a Mercury Retro-BABE, one who doesn't feed the frenzy, the chaos, the moving in all these different directions, doom and gloom, we're here for each other. Of course we are. You're still listening, right? So it's time to focus on your advancement. It's a time to focus on what gets in the way of that. It's a time to realize that you're not going to fuck this up. You're not. You made it this far. You made it this far. You're not going to fuck it up more. So we need to stop thinking with that. We need to stop leading with the worst case scenario and start leading with what is in my best interest, what is for my highest good, and what am I still carrying? Who are the horde of people that I'm dragging around that represent all these different aspects of my life that don't help me in the long run? They served a purpose. They were part of my lessons and my evolution, but it must end. How can I honor this idea of endings, of finishing, of wrapping up, so that I can get into the juicy things I want in my life, in any aspect? All right. Thanks for being on the pilot episode during this Mercury retrograde. If you want to hang with me more, I highly encourage you to check out the Cosmic Channel. It is my virtual hub for anything cosmically connected, connections with like-minded, beautiful, yummy individuals, and guidance on what is going on within the cosmos as it relates to your life. It's awesome. Go to my website, danielmercurio.com. You'll see it right there, the Cosmic Channel. Now you can join as a member, or you can get some of our a la carte features. The upcoming ones would be the new moon solar eclipse experience. We'll also be doing one for the summer solstice. Summer solstice. We'll be doing as well. I have some astral healings coming up they're a great opportunity to allow me to kind of come in and work with the energy on your behalf a little bit to help you release some of these old templates that we still hold in our auric and energetic system. So check that all out. It's on the website. I'm kind of on Instagram right now. My Instagram is my name, Danielle Mercurio. I'm doing this little social media shift, if you will. I realized, at first I was like Mercury retrograde. At first I was like eclipse, the entire eclipse season. So like, last week of May to summer solstice, I'm going to be off Instagram completely. Then it was like, well, maybe when Mercury retrograde starts. And the more I got closer to it, the more I was like, this is such a bad idea. I'm like, I don't want to 100% be off Instagram. And like, I have help and like, yeah, my team and I can schedule posts and whatnot, but I'm like, that's not the point. I don't want to restrict myself 3 weeks because my Instagram use has gotten out of hand. With anything in my life that has gotten out of hand, the only thing that has really allowed myself to move on and heal and find a better relationship with it is learning how to modify, learning how to ease back and also still have some kind of relationship. So this Mercury retrograde, I am easing back from Instagram. I'm taking lots of days off in a row. But within that, I still will schedule posts as I feel called. I'll batch out my stories. So that way it doesn't, because I'm like, okay, yeah, it might be good to be completely off the grid and I'm sure I'll have some peace. But like, I also hate the fact of feeling like I'm restricting myself because now I'm telling myself, Danielle, you can't do that. Everyone else gets to be on Instagram and you can't, right? Now I'm excluding myself, which does not help me. And it doesn't help me from a business perspective, like part of why I use Instagram is to make money. Like I'm going to be real about it. So that doesn't feel good. And also like, okay, so I take these 3 weeks off and I come back, then what? Am I just back on it again every single day? And it's like, no, like I want to have a healthier balance. And I'm telling you, by admitting that, I shared it. You'll see like my last post is about that. I feel so good. I've tried to take time off Instagram before. This is the first time where it doesn't feel like I'm taking off Instagram. It just feels like, ooh, I'm finding this really unique, yummy flow. And like, I don't have to show up this weekend. I don't have to go on right now. I don't need to see what everybody's doing every single day. I can just kind of ebb and flow as I please. And it's been the best. And it's only been a few days. And I'm just so excited that I allowed myself to take ownership of what the best fit for a social media detox or shift or whatever it is could mean for me. And so I share that as an example, just to, and again, you might need to go completely off. You might not need to go, whatever. It's whatever works best for you. That's what I'm about. I'm not here to tell you what you need to do or not do because I really don't know. And I also don't want to trigger old shit or make things worse because of my dictation, Anyway, okay. That's all that. Oh my goodness, we're at an hour. Yummy, delicious. Look for more episodes. I freaking love you. Please give this some stars, give this some love as we get it back out into the world again. And share it with your friends. Share it on Instagram and maybe I'll see because I'll be online, but maybe I won't because I'll be offline and I'll just trust that how you shared it will be exactly as it's meant to be shared and it will reach whoever's supposed to reach it. Yum. Okay. Adore you.